Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Bryan Ream from alternative pop band Rooftops.
What's up? How's it going?
It's getting harder to look so surprised. The weight on my shoulders is broken me down. It's getting clearer. Now I know you're breaking me, you're leaving me so cold. And it hurts the most to admit that I know all the lies and the fucking cries you told. They were a waste of air 'cause you never cared at all.
I want to dig into some of your history, how you got into music, and what age.
So yeah, I started playing guitar when I was 10 years old, and I just started learning playing guitar, whatever, and didn't really start. I had like bands in middle school and like not really elementary school, but yeah, middle school. They were never really anything, just played talent shows and whatnot. But I didn't really start having my first like actual band until like high school. And yeah, a lot of it was just playing guitar by myself and just learning and whatnot. And yeah,
Who would you say are some of your musical influences, maybe as you're growing up until now?
so it's changed pretty drastically. A lot of the stuff that I was learning when I was like growing up playing guitar was a lot of like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Kiss, the Beatles, stuff like that. And a lot of that was because one of the music that I grew up around, just like with my mom and stuff. Like I remember listening to like the Beatles and the Beach Boys growing up, all that kind of stuff. Stevie Wonder. But then the guitar player or the guitar teacher that I had, he was a really big Beatles fan and pretty much knew like every single Beatles song. So it's like he was showing me all that stuff, and then a lot of like the stuff growing up playing like Guitar Hero, I would want to always learn those songs and stuff. So that was kind of the influence going on, and then I started discovering like in the middle school, I started discovering music like Green Day and getting more into like punk and or like that '90s sound, like a lot of Soundgarden and whatnot. Um, so I started learning that kind of stuff, and then when I went into high school, I was learning more about like My Chemical Romance, Taking Back Sunday, Brand New, Foo Fighters, all that kind of stuff. So that kind of leads to today of like still taking influences from those bands, but also more modern stuff like the 1975 21 Pilots. I'm a really big fan of what Phineas does with Billie Eilish. All that kind of stuff. Just it's a whole conglomerate of all that into making what is Rooftops, I guess.
How did the band form?
Rooftops is technically just me. I do have a drummer that I play live with. So it really just started out with me just writing songs. It's not. It wasn't like intentional for me to start a band. It was like my friend sent me a TikTok of like how to write like a Midwest indie song or emo song or whatever. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty easy. And then I just like wrote something. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I finished writing the whole song. And then I wrote like two more that same week. I was like, oh, maybe I could just like start like recording some songs and like just releasing them. Like whatever. It's like at that point I was already in like two or three other bands, and so I was like, oh, I'll just like release these and record them. Like it's whatever, like nothing crazy. And then like the first, I was getting ready to release the first song. I was like, well, maybe I should hire someone to do like PR and to like help out with the release, try to get some press for it. And then I did that for the next song, and then the next song after that, and it just kind of got out of control of just like taking something that wasn't supposed to be that serious and like just happened to write a song to having a whole EP that's about to come out and going on a tour and whatnot, all within like a year and a half kind of thing, which is kind of crazy.
The drummer, is he like a friend and you just bring him on tour with you, or how's that work?
Yeah, so the drummer, his name's Mark Fullen. Him and I have been playing in bands together since like 2016. He was in my first band. And then after high school, when that band broke up, I started playing for another artist named Frankie Soleil, and we needed a drummer. I was like, okay, well, I got the perfect drummer for that. So then him and I have been started doing that together. And then I started doing Rooftops, and I needed a drummer. I was like, okay, well, it's going to be Mark, um, which is always awesome because him and I like know how each other plays and stuff. So it's super easy just to like work together and whatnot. But he does all the drums on the recordings as well. So he's in the process relatively pretty much from the beginning. Like I'll write the songs and I'll program drums and just be like, all right, here's the idea, do your thing, just like stay within this like sound, I guess.
How did you come up with the band name?
I think I was just sitting there like, okay, I need to come up with a band name. I I had a couple ideas. I had like a whole list, and I was like, oh, what if I came up with the name Rooftop? Don't know why, it just sounded good to me. And I sent Mark over this list of ideas. I was like, what do you think of these names? He's like, you should do Rooftop, but add an S to it for Rooftops. I was like, okay. And then it was Rooftops. There's no meaning behind it at all. It just sounded good. I've more recently come to figure out that it's not as creative as I thought it was. There's a couple of other rooftops from like Europe, but a lot of them I did a little bit of research before I actually like picked a name, and like the one that I found is like they hadn't released any music since like 2016, and this was like 2020 at the time. So I was like, okay, it's been 4 years. They probably not doing anything anymore. I should be good. But then within the past month, I've kind of realized there's like one or two other rooftops that have like released more like music more recently. I'm like, I just gotta get more popular than them, so I show up first. But yeah,
What city is your band based out of?
we're based out of Columbus, Ohio.
When the pandemic hit and live music shut down for that year, what did you do during that time?
Well, this was kind of rooftops was, um, kind of created on the back end middle part of COVID. I wrote the first song around like maybe I think like September of 2020. We started putting out songs in November 2020. I'm pretty sure. And then we were just like working on. I was just working on writing and recording stuff, and then we had our first show in um very end of July of 2021. So that it's kind of been more of a back end of COVID thing, whereas like all the build up for creating rooftops was in the middle of COVID and whatnot. Um, so because of that, with rooftops at least, it hasn't affected too much. Um, but as an artist, like I play in a bunch of other bands. I do music full time, and whatnot. That it did take a hit on me personally as an artist and or as a hired musician per se.
Now, after the pandemic, the lockdown lifted for the pandemic, and you played live shows again, did you notice like energy in the audience, like live music's back, you know?
Yes and no. I haven't. So I guess my experience with shows is a little bit weird because I play in a country band where it's all like it's pretty much all bar shows. So we were during the pandemic, since bars were allowed to have music and like bars were open, we were actually playing shows pretty early on. And like the bars would just have everyone seated kind of thing. Um So like I could see that people were excited to get back to like see live music and whatnot. But like ticketed shows wise, it's it's pretty much the same. Like people are still excited to come out to shows and whatnot. I think maybe just a little more excited, just to be able to get out of the house and whatnot. Um, but I also work for a concert promoter, and we have noticed overall ticket sales is like ticket sales aren't selling as much, but then for the amount of people that actually show up has gone down for sure. Just with people getting COVID last minute or whatever, after they bought the ticket.
I feel the pressure coming. It circles around my mind. But when we get to heaven, will we still learn our lesson? I feel the pressure coming. I feel the
I wanted to dig into your new album, Happy on the Outside. Uh, you have a song, your first song off that is TBH, and it's very hooky, and there's catchy chorus in there. Th- Was that when you wrote that song? Did you like write the chorus first and then build from that?
Yeah. So the idea lyrically, the idea for that was that line. To be honest, I'll see you next summer. And I actually didn't even come up with that. The studio that we recorded it at, the engineer's girlfriend or his fiance, uh, came up with that because I say to be honest a lot. She's like, you should just write a song about to be honest, and so yeah, I was like, she was like, to be honest, see you next summer, and I was like, ooh, that's really good, and then um so then I had that idea. I already had like the instrumental down. That's usually what happens is like I'll like have like all the music and I was like, oh, now I have to write words to this. Um so yeah, we came up with that. I kind of sat on it for a little bit. I'd come up with a whole chorus based around it. I ended up hating it. Um but I still like that idea. And then all the verses and kind of redoing the chorus I wrote with guy named Kenny Thompson, and he's the singer of another band that I play in called Noise Control, and I really like his writing and all that, so I just wanted like his input on it. So him and I sat down one day and we just like wrote all the like the melodies, lyrics, all that together, and yeah, that's kind of how that came to be.
There's another song on that album. It's called Pressure, and there's like a industrial type sound to it. Like, was that used to create like tension in the atmosphere of that song?
That song is, I don't know, it's weird. I A friend of mine challenged me to write a song like Suburban, which they were a band that were really popular on TikTok a couple months ago. They're like, "Oh, you should just write a song like Suburban." I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a try." And I actually wrote that song like a long time ago, and I was like, "Well, this is probably too different for Rooftops." So I never really did anything with it. And then I had some people convince me uh, to just put it out and just be like, why not? Just like put it out. So I did, or well, it's about to be out, and yeah, I don't know. It was always supposed to be different from the rest of the sound. But then we kind of like further on into the process, um, it kind of took more of that like rock sound more than just like dark electronic synth sound, and it kind of became like if you took like Billie Eilish meets Heavy Dirty Soul by 21 Pilots meets Bring Me the Horizon kind of sound. I guess that's a good way to describe it. And just like taking all those elements of just creating like that dark pop rock kind of sound.
I noticed on the album that you explore like all kinds of different sounds on your new album, and it's really diverse. Was that like your intention going into it to go that way?
Yeah. Um so I like that I kind of took that direction only because it gives something for everyone. And like when even in the writing beforehand, before writing the EP, I've always kind of it's been everything from like the 1975 to Taking Back Sunday kind of thing. So it's more of like all in that same writing style of what Rooftops is, but just like in a body of work. But it gives something for everyone. So it's like if you don't like the heavier rock stuff, you have like the catchy pop stuff and vice versa.
What do you guys got planned for 2022?
So we're about to go on tour here, starting February 18th with the release of the EP and our release show. And we'll be on tour for about 2 weeks. And then right now it's just working on getting shows booked for the summer and festivals and doing weekend runs and potentially, hopefully, doing another tour like this fall. Either doing the Midwest again or trying to hit the East Coast.
How could we get a hold of you? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that. Just Rooftops Ohio on all the platforms.
That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, just Happy on the Outside comes out on February 18th, and that will also be when we're starting our tour. We're going to Columbus, Cleveland, Detroit, Nashville, Cincinnati, and Chicago. And you can check out all the dates and information for tickets at rooftopsofficial.com. And yeah, check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, anywhere we get music.